once I finish editing the video, you will see right after this little spot, you will see a slide that looks kind of like this, and I will have time codes right here so that you can see where to fast forward to for help with different problems. So if you know how to do 1 through 4 and you don't need help with that, then you can skip to the timestamp for number 5, and same thing with 6 and 8. So and same if you need to go back and review certain kinds of problems, then that will be helpful as well. So I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up on what that was. All right. All right, guys, so this application sheet kind of has 3 different types of problems, so I'm going to try to really quickly go through one of each kind. So problems 1 through 4 are all what we call consecutive integer problems. So I'm going to go through one of these problems, and hopefully it'll be enough information to get you through the rest of them. So the problem says the sum of 2 consecutive integers is 91. What are the 2 integers? Well, there's lots of vocabulary in there we've kind of got to go through. First of all, the word sum means that we're adding. So we know we're adding something, and we know that the sum is 91. So we're adding something and it adds up to be 91. 2 consecutive integers. Consecutive is a word that means it's one right after the other. So if we're talking about numbers and I'm counting and say 1, 2, 3, 4, then 3 and 4 are consecutive numbers because they're side by side. They come right after each other. Integer, you talked about at the end of Unit 1. Integers are all those whole numbers and their opposites. So it's our positive and negative numbers, no fractions or decimals though. So we know we're expecting to see 2 numbers, probably positive since our sum is positive, and they're side by side, and when they add up they equal 91. Now you can do a guess and check method, but there's a really easy equation that you can set up to help get you there. But the first thing we got to know is that our first number is we're going to just define it as a variable. Doesn't matter what variable you use. I tend to go with n on these. I don't know why, it's just what I do. Okay, so my first value is going to be n. That's the easy part. I just said there's a number, I don't know what it is, so I'm going to use this variable. The hard part, or not hard, but slightly more difficult part, is coming up with that second value, because I know I've got 2 numbers that I'm adding to get 91. In order to figure out what that second number is going to be, you've got to kind of think about a number line. So I've got this value. I don't know what it is, so I can't place it exactly on the number line, but I know that somewhere on the number line I have a value that's n. And I know that the very next number on the number line is what I'm looking for. So this number, not 0, but this blank here, is the value I want. Well, to get from this n, the first integer, to the second integer, I've got to go up 1, which means if I take this value, whatever it may be, and I add 1 to it, so n plus 1, that should get me my second integer. So that means the second integer is n plus 1. Now to set up my equation, I know that I'm taking the sum of these 2 integers. So n, there's my first number, plus n plus 1, that's my second number, so first, second, is, there's my equal sign, 91. Well, to solve this equation, we're going to follow our rules. We're going to first combine those like terms. So I've got, remember, a little understood 1 coefficient on both of those. So 1 plus 1 is 2n plus 1 equals 91. And then I'm just going to solve that equation. I'm going to erase my number line real quick to give myself some more room. So 2n plus 1 equals 91. I'm going to start by subtracting that 1 from both sides of my equation, which leaves me with 2n equals 90. And then I'm going to come over here because I'm out of room. I'm going to rewrite my equation because that's just good form. And then I've got a 2 here being multiplied by n, so I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides of my equation. Those cancel, and I'm left with n equals 90 divided by 2 is 45. So I'm almost done. You're tempted, I know, to just box that in and say, okay, I'm good. But remember that we're looking for the two integers. So we've got our first integer. To find our second integer, we're going to say, well, the second integer was n plus 1. 45 plus 1 is 46. So my two integers are 45 and 46. Okay, if you want even integers, think back to that number line and how many jumps you would have to make to get from this even value to the next even value on the number line. All right, let's go ahead and do another one. All right, so we only made one example that's like this problem with Tris and Caleb and Tobias having different amounts of money. So I made up a different example so that it didn't steal your only chance to practice this one. So I talked about children and their stuffed animals. So Ada has 3 times as many stuffed animals as Isaac. Isaac has 7 animals less than Charlotte, and together they have 47 stuffed animals. How many stuffed animals does each child have? It's always important to note what the question's asking you to do. That means I'm going to need to know not just how many stuffed animals Ada has, but Ada, Isaac, and Charlotte. So I'm going to start by defining some variables. Oops, I need a pen. I'm just going to say Ada is Ada's animals, that is. Ada is A. We'll say Isaac is B. And Charlotte is C. Too bad I didn't name Isaac something that started with a B. Okay, so then we're just going to start writing some equations that go along with the different sentences that we have. So Ada has 3 times as many stuffed animals as Isaac. Well, 3 times means I am multiplying by 3. So Ada has, that's like our equal sign. So Ada is equal to 3 times Isaac. All right, there's equation number 1. Then Isaac has, so that means B equals, has is going to be like our equal sign, 7 animals less than Charlotte. Remember, less than does mean subtraction, but it means subtraction where your number goes behind, because we're taking Charlotte's animals and subtracting 7 to figure out how many animals Isaac has. And then the last thing we know is that together, so that's kind of like total, they have 47 animals. So Ada plus Isaac plus Charlotte all together have 47, not just 7, have 47 animals. Okay? Now, we've taught you how to solve equations with one variable. There are lots of letters floating around here, so what are we going to do? Well, we need to get this written in terms of a single variable. What I know, though, is that we have the substitution property that says if I know that A is equal to 3B, then anywhere I see an A, I can replace it with 3B if I want to. I also know that, well, yeah, that's going to be the main thing I'm going to use here. I have this equation that's written with A, B, and C, and I clearly know that A is equal to 3B. So let's see what happens if I take this 3B and I substitute it in for that A, because I know that A is equal to 3 times Isaac. So 3B plus B plus C equals 47. That's closer to being all in terms of the same variables, but I've still got this one C here. So I'm going to look over to this equation because it's the only one I haven't used yet, and because it does have a B and it has a C. Now, it wouldn't help me to just plug in this C minus 7 for B, because now I've still got this B over here, and there's no way to change that into a C. So what I'm going to do instead is I am going to try and solve or isolate this C. So if I take this 7 and add it, then I have to add it to the other side because I have the additive property of equality. And now B plus 7, I don't know what B plus 7 is because those are not like terms. So I've still got B plus 7. Over here, negative 7 plus 7 is 0, and 0 plus C is C. So now I've written this C in terms of B plus 7. So I'm going to do another round of substitution. I'm going to take this B plus 7 and I'm going to plug it in for C. So what I'll have then is I'll still have 3B plus b, but instead of writing c, I'm going to write b plus 7. That equals 47. And now I have an equation that's all in terms of one variable, so I can combine like terms. 3b plus, remember, there's an understood 1 there, so 3b plus 1b plus 1b, 3 plus 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So I have 5b plus 7 equals 47, and now it's just a two-step equation. I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides, and I get 5b equals 40. And then I'm going to divide by 5. I'm going to run out of room. I'm going to divide by 5, and I get b equals 8. Now, remember, that means that I know that Isaac has 8 stuffed animals. So I got to go back up here and figure out all my other kids because it told us we wanted to know how many everybody has. So Isaac has 8. Let's figure out Ada. Well, Ada, we were told, has 3 times as many as Isaac. So if I take that b and replace it with 8, then I have Ada equals 24 stuffed animals. And Charlotte has, see, Isaac has 7 animals less than Charlotte. So again, if Isaac, we're going to go right to this equation that we wrote to go along with that sentence. So if Isaac has 8, then Charlotte minus 7 will give us how many Charlotte has. So if I add 7 to both sides, then that gives me 15 equals Charlotte. And if you wanted to check your work to make sure this answer makes sense, then put in your calculator 24 plus 8 plus 15. That should total up to 47, which it does. All right, let's do one last problem if you need it. Okay, 6, 7, and 8 are all perimeter problems. Anytime you have a geometry problem and a figure isn't given, it's best to start by drawing yourself a little picture. So I'm told that I've got a rectangle, so I'm going to start by drawing myself a rectangle. It just makes things easier to kind of visualize what they're talking about, and it gives you a place to encourage you to write notes. So the length of a rectangle is 4 centimeters more than the width, and the perimeter is 48. What are the dimensions? So it wants both the length and the width of the rectangle. All right, so again, we did that lesson translating algebraic expressions for a reason. It prepares us for these word problems. So the length of a rectangle is 4 centimeters more than the width. Well, we're going to go ahead and say that this is going to be my width. If this is my length, then I am told that the length is 4 more than, which means addition, the width. So here's my width. This is 4 more than that. I believe you had to do some problems where we were adding algebraic expressions that were very much similar to this, except this time we're told what the perimeter is. Well, think about what you need in order to find the perimeter. Perimeter is the distance around a figure. We know that this is the width. We know that this is 4 more than the width. This is also going to be the width because opposite sides of a rectangle are equal. This is also going to be 4 more than the width because opposite sides of a rectangle are equal. So when I'm trying to find the perimeter, I'm going to go around this rectangle and add everything up. I'm going to say W, cross that out because I wrote it down, plus 4 plus W, write it down, then cross it out, plus another W, write it down, then cross it out, plus another 4 plus W, write it down, then cross it out. Again, the cross out is not mathematically necessary. It's just good practice because it keeps you from forgetting one of your sides, which is really easy to do when you got all these W's floating around. All of this added together is, there's my equal sign, 48 centimeters. All right, now I'm ready to combine like terms. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 W's. Remember that there are understood coefficients of 1 in front of all those W's. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. And then I've got 4 plus 4, which is 8. And that's equal to 48. And now I've got a two-step. I'm subtracting 8, which leaves me with no room. So I'm going to come over here and I get 4W equals 40 because over here I subtracted my 8's. 48 minus 8 is 40. And then I'm dividing by 4, and I've got, again, no room, but this cancels and I have W. 40 divided by 4 is 10. So my width is 10 centimeters. Make sure you show your units. I also, though, have to give my length. The length is 4 more than the width. So if I come over here and say 4 plus that 10, then I get 14 centimeters for my length. Again, you could check your answer by using those as your dimensions and verifying that if I add 10 plus 14 plus 10 plus 14, it'll add up to 48, which it will. So there's your answer. I hope these helped. That should get you set up to do number 7 and 8. Have a great day.